Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. President Muhammadu Buhari has delivered his last address to Nigerians in his capacity as leader of the nation. A short while ago, the president thanked Nigerians for their support in carrying out his duties, as well as their patience and resilience in the face of varying challenges to the survival of the nation in the past 8 years. He also spoke glowingly about the recent elections, which produced Bola Tinubu as president-elect, calling it one of the most transparent of such electoral exercises in the history of Nigeria. President Buhari said that though his time as Nigeria's leader has come to an end, he would still willingly offer his services in whatever capacity to assist the growth of the nation. Let's take a listen.
This year we witnessed the most keenly contested presidential elections since the first republic, and this demonstrates that our democracy is getting better and more entrenched with each election. We must, as a nation, improve and sustain gains we made in the electoral process on an incremental basis for Nigeria to take its rightful place among nations. Our democracy provides for, allows, and encourages seeking redress for perceived injustices, enabling some candidates and political parties that do not agree with the results to go to court. Irrespective of the outcome of the various cases, I urge all parties involved to accept the decision of our courts and join hands to build a better Nigeria. I salute the doggedness and resilience of all the presidential candidates and their political parties for believing in our judicial system by taking their grievances with the election results to court. In the course of the campaigns, we had argued and disagreed on how to make Nigeria better, but we never disagreed or had any doubts that Nigeria has to be better. As your president, I call on all of us to bring to bear the strengths of our individualism, the power of our unity, the convictions of our beliefs, to make Nigeria work better and together with one spirit and one purpose. To my brother, friend, and fellow worker in the political terrain for the past 10 years, Asuwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I congratulate you on the realization of your dream, which was propelled by a burning passion to put Nigeria among the leading nations of the world. You have indeed worked for this day, and God has crowned your efforts. I have no doubt that your passion for excellence, reliance on competence, fairness in relationships, commitment to equity, loyalty to the country, and desire for Nigeria to be globally relevant would come through for you under God's guidance as you lead our country to levels higher than I am leaving. You are the best candidate among all the contestants, and Nigerians have chosen well. The last 8 years have been an exciting experience in my desire and commitment to see a Nigeria in which public goods and services are available and accessible within a united, peaceful, and secure nation. Fellow Nigerians, on the strength of your overwhelming support for me and my political party, I started this journey with a great deal of promise and expectation from you. I never intended to be just politically correct, but to do the correct things that will make meaningful impact on the lives of the common Nigerian. This high expectation was not misplaced because like the ordinary Nigerian, I had grown tired of watching the country progressively moving away from the path of correctness. To ensure that our democracy remains resilient and our elected representatives remain accountable to the people, I am leaving behind an electoral process which guarantees that votes count, results are credible, elections are fair and transparent, and the influence of money in politics reduced to the barest minimum, and Nigerians can elect leaders of their choice. We are already seeing the outcome of this process, as it provided an even playing field where persons without any political godfather or access to money defeated other well-resourced candidates. The Nigerian economy has become more resilient due to the various strategies put in place to ensure that our economy remain afloat during cases of global economic downturns. You will all recall the supply chain disruptions and economic downturn that the world witnessed between 2020 and 2022 as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. The depthness of our response to the pandemic still remains a global best practice. Furthermore, we increase the ability of the poor and rural Nigerians to earn a living, provide more food for millions in our villages, and give our women opportunities to earn a living. Young men and women in urban centers were also supported to put their skills into productive use. Our administration also provided an enabling environment for the private sector to engage in businesses for which their return on investment is guaranteed. The private sector proved a strong partner in our drive to build a resilient and sustainable economy, as evidenced by the growing number of turnkey projects in various sectors of the economy. In the course of revamping the economy, we made some difficult choices, most of which yielded the desired results. Some of the measures led to temporary pain and suffering, for which I sincerely apologize to my fellow countrymen, but the measures were taken for the overall good of the country. Mindful of the need to ensure adequate infrastructure to drive economic growth, we completed age-long projects and processes, notably among which are the Petroleum Industry Act, completion of some power projects, completion of Second Niger Bridge, and various important roads linking cities and states. Our battle to ensure that all Nigerians live in a safe and secure environment have achieved considerable results. As I complete my term in office, we have been able to reduce the incidences of banditry, terrorism, armed robbery, and other criminal activities considerably. To sustain the gains made so far, I call on all Nigerians to be more vigilant and support the security agencies by ensuring that our values defined by being your brother's keeper govern our actions. Up till now, I still grieve for our children still in captivity. Mourn with parents, friends, and relatives of all those that lost loved ones in the days of the senseless brigandage and carnage. For all those under unlawful captivity, our security agencies are working round the clock to secure their release unharmed. Fellow Nigerians, you know how dear the desire in my heart to rid the country of corrupt practices that had consistently diminished our efforts to be a great country. I did pursue this commitment relentlessly, in spite of the expected pushback. I am happy that considerable progress had been made in repatriating huge sums of money back to the country and also taken over properties illegally acquired from our commonwealth.
That was President Muhammadu Buhari there. Meanwhile, Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima has assured Nigerians that the incoming administration of Bola Ahmed Tinubu will carry everyone along and not pursue any religious or sectional interests. Shettima gave the assurance on Saturday at the 2023 presidential inauguration lecture in Abuja. Arise News correspondent Ferdinand Duoha reports.
Members of the executive led by President Muhammadu Buhari, ranking members of the National Assembly, captains of industry, service chiefs and representatives of foreign missions, among others, made up the guest list at this lecture, which is part of activities building up to the May 29 inauguration. With its theme, Deepening Democracy for Development, speakers admonished the incoming administration to carry everyone along, regardless of the way they voted or their religious inclination. Contributors observed that the 2023 elections exposed the fault lines, including party, ethnic, and religious. Keynote speaker and former president of Kenya, Uhuru Kenyatta, advises the incoming president that the contest is over and it's time to unify Nigeria.
I encourage you to surround yourself with the voices of those who will counterbalance the hardliners that feel entitled to a piece of your office. You will lose nothing and gain everything by reaching out across the political, ethnic, and religious lines to those who may feel aggrieved by your victory in one way or another. Please allow them to exhale and be part of your vision.
On the need to embrace religious tolerance and inclusivity, contributors warn that the incoming administration must effectively manage the nation's diversity.
On this, Sheikh Uthman Danfodio wrote, one of the swiftest ways of destroying a state is to give preference to one particular tribe over another, or to show favor to one group of people over the other, and draw near those who should be kept away, and keep away those who should be drawn near you.
So, Mr. Vice President-elect, the challenge for you is to make this country believable, livable, credible, so that all of us together can stand in one tent and build a great nation.
Following the series of advice given, it was time for the incoming administration to take the stage. Vice President-elect thanked President Buhari for allowing and promoting a free and fair electoral process. He assures Nigerians that what is binding the country is greater than what is dividing the nation.
We are here to serve. We are here to listen. We are here to be held accountable. We are not saints on an evangelical mission. Therefore, like every mortal, we may stumble here and there. However, none of these mistakes will be intentional. We shall never be oblivious to the impermanence of this power. And we acknowledge that we shall be judged by man, time, and God.
For President Muhammadu Buhari, with barely 48 hours to go, he says he feels a renewed sense of hope that his successor will deliver on the promises.
True democracy thrives when the voices of all citizens are heard, valued, and represented, regardless of their background or social status. The underlying philosophy of this lecture has been rooted in the belief that our nation's progress rests on the pillars of unity, inclusivity, and shared responsibility. We have acknowledged that the task of nation building is a collective one, transcending political affiliations and personal interests. It is a commitment to leaving no Nigerian behind.
Nigeria is currently undergoing its 7th consecutive civilian transition, marking a significant milestone in the country's democratic journey since 1999. Organizers say the philosophy of the lecture is to foster national unity, inclusivity, and democratic consolidation. Ferdinand Duroja, Arise News.
All right, Kayode, very interesting package there from Ferdinand. I mean, I think that the topic was very apt. I mean, it's part of all of the celebrations for leading up to the inauguration, which is tomorrow. Yes. I mean, you know, deepening democracy. You had President Muhammadu Buhari speak there, and he talked about the fact that true democracy only exists when everyone's voice is heard. Earlier, we also heard him giving his last address to the nation. Yeah. He boasted of his legacy, which is what he's always touted, delivering a free, fair, and credible election. Now, you know, I mean, you heard all of the speakers there advising the incoming administration about the fact that, you know, there has to be some sort of unity, inclusivity. I'd like to ask you, Kayode, did you see that in the past administration? And would you say that, you know, we had this type of event before Buhari came into his administration? Did he heed to the advice, or did he even actually practice what he preached?
Let me behave like Premier Additional and
Okay.
say, well done. This kind of transition, I can't think of it ever happening in the past. So well done to the president. If we must commend him for anything, the transition process or programs has been very elaborate and is being handled quite well. Mm-hmm. The planning of yesterday's program was exceptional. It was on point. All the points made, they should be cast in stone, written with blood, and followed through. And that is a great thing. But if I'm to go on to other things, I listened to the president's speech, and I'm thinking, maybe our president, General Muhammadu Buhari, whom I have met several times and who I can say I was practically the first person to moderate the presidential media chat with President Muhammadu Buhari.
There you go, Kayode.
Yeah, I moderated it. I had a chance of meeting him before, meeting him after, and discussing with him on the program. And I asked him specifically at that very first presidential media chat, I said, President Muhammadu Buhari, what are you going to do about our girls? And he said, we're going to do everything humanly possible to make sure we bring back our girls. As of today, there's still a number of them in captivity. 8 years, I'm talking of 2015, when I asked the president, 2015, 8 years ago, before he won the election, what are you going to do? He said, we're going to bring them back. Then in December, I remember like it happened yesterday, December 2015, 2016. Yes, it was December 2016 that I asked him, and I said, President Buhari, what are you going to do? He said, we're working on it. All our intelligence agencies are working on it. And guess what? 8 years on, nothing has happened. We have not brought them back. So that's a major failure. And that was a very big political point that he scored against President Jonathan.
Absolutely.
At that point,
because
we're going to bring back the girls.
We're going to bring a general to.
Another point is the issue of corruption. I'm thinking there are two countries that this president was running and some of us were living in. He's running a different country and we're living in a different country. A country where he said they have made some good progress in the area of corruption. This was one of his agenda 8 years ago and 4 years ago. And we're in a situation where this same corruption, this is the country for the first time ever that monkeys were eating money. This is the same country where pythons and snakes were eating money. This is the case where in this same country, during his own tenure, money were buried in places and people were fainting in National Assembly, and not one of them that I can see being in prison. I can't see anybody in prison.
Yeah.
So I'm beginning to wonder whether President Buhari was running a country somewhere in Nigeria or some other country outside Nigeria, and then we live in a different country. Because if you look at the economic situation of Nigeria, what he got from President Jonathan is not what we have now.
Absolutely.
So there are so many things that he mentioned, and I'm thinking, I honestly don't understand. But if we move on to this transition program and we talk about the event yesterday, the standout for me will be, number one, Bishop Kuka's speech was exceptional. It was right on point in terms of the unity of this country is sacrosanct, is important, is something that we must not toy with. Because if we mess around with it, the things that will divide us, they're all there. We have to avoid a situation where there is incredible division that will destroy this nation. It's so fragile right now. But we have to make sure that we hold the fabrics of the nation together and keep ourselves one, because if we fail, the eventual happening will be calamitous. So we must not allow that happen. Another person that was a standout for me, because I always say that my constituency is the youths. My constituency is the youths. I love the youths of Nigeria. I've been there, done that, got my gray hair to show for it, and I am happy with our youths today. They're definitely not lazy. Dr. Israel's speech was really good, and he wasn't only saying that the government of Bola Ahmed Tinubu should look after the youths. He's saying and calling on the youths themselves and saying to them, you, the young people of Nigeria, pull yourself by the bootstrap and get out there and make stuff happen. Because if you're expecting just the government to do it for you, it probably won't happen. But as you pull yourself by the bootstrap and you go out and do stuff, you will see results. But he's also calling on the president-elect, who in 24 hours will become the president of Nigeria, that he has to do something really good. Akinwumi Adesina's speech was very good. And all the other speeches, I can go on and on and on. I sat there and consumed all of it. I watched every bit of it. It was very good content. I just hope that somebody is taking notes. But the final one for me is the fact that the president-elect did not show up at his own event. How do we explain that the president was not there? He was represented
the president-elect was not there.
Vice president-elect, whose speech was very much on point as well.
Absolutely,
and who is saying all the right
speech,
things. This man, I was watching and I was saying, oh, we've got a very, very brilliant vice president-elect who's going to be the president of the vice president of Nigeria. He's very brilliant, very intelligent gentleman, and I think he's going to be really exceptional in office. But I am hoping, I've said to a number of friends, I personally will be praying for our incoming president. I'll be praying for him. He'll be in good health. He'll have straight good mind. God will grant him wisdom, and he will do exceptionally well. Why? Because if President tomorrow, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is successful, then every single one of us will have a reason to say our country is being successful.
Absolutely. I mean, Kayode, you are right on point. I mean, there are so many things that the president highlighted in his speech. I don't think that I heard him highlight the aspect of corruption, but he did say that under his administration, terrorism reduced because of what you talked about. I mean, I don't know how that is possible, because we, like you said, still have our girls out there as well. I also like the Sultan of Sokoto's speech. Yes. I know that you missed that out. Yes. I think that he made a quote from Usman Danfodio about unifying the country, about, he spoke against nepotism, and that the only way of unifying the country is just to be, carrying everyone along in your administration and not being sectional.
But just to quickly mention, the president did mention corruption, and he said that we have brought back some of the money. And
yes,
the question
he talked about repatriation of funds. He didn't mention all of those ideas. He was just highlighting the fact that, his administration had made that great stride in repatriation. And that has nothing to do with, yes, absolutely.
Too many ways.
Well, he also highlighted infrastructure as well, which we did see a lot of that.
I will acknowledge.
Yes, we did see a lot of that as well.
That one, yes.
Well, all right.